Good evening, my name is Haley Duncan and I'm going to talk about polyacrylamide. We're going to talk about the history, the structure, synthesis and production methods, and some of the applications. So we're just going to do a little overview of this polymer. An overview of polyacrylamide by me, Haley Duncan. So let's just dive right into history. So after the aggregating effects were discovered in the 1950s, that was pretty cool. That was very good for industrial applications of this polymer for processing concentrated mineral slurries and refining oil, which was a big deal. It still is, but especially back then in the 1950s. So, who exactly made the process to make this? The first patent was in 1959 by Arthur Profit with Dow Chemical Company, and there have been many different versions and ways to make this polymer, but they are credited with being the first and being the ones with the first patent. So, as the world evolved, so did this polymer. The world evolved in becoming more environmentally conscious, so they decided to put this polymer to use in treating wastewater in the 1960s, and I will get further into exactly how that process goes about in the application section of this video. And then one more thing, still evolving this polymer. In 1983, these two scientists by the name of Jerry Neff and Aurora de Castro, they patented a way to make polyacrylamide gels for electrophoresis. So just expanding this polymer's field and how it can help the world. So we're going to look at the structures. Every polymer has a monomer, so that's acrylamide. That is the monomer. What's going to happen when it forms the polymer is this double bond is going to break right here, and it's going to allow for connections. So going into the polymer, boom, lots of monomers right here. And this is actually the cross-linked version of the polymer, and it could be cross-linked or a linear chain. So I just wanted to show you guys the cross-linked version of this to make polyacrylamide gel, basically. So there you got the acrylamide, you got the bisacrylamide plus your ammonium persulfate, which is your initiator, and it'll form this cross-linked polymer, which behaves gel-like when hydrated, which is different than its cross-linked counterpart. So we're going to talk about the properties of polyacrylamide, such as, let's talk about the glass transition temperature. That is around 150 degrees Celsius. As everyone knows, or tries to remember, that room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. So this polymer is going to act like a glassy, hard solid at room temperature, and it will begin to soften at 210 degrees Celsius. So any application at room temperature, this polymer is going to be ready to go. So aside from those two temperature properties, it is water soluble. It's high molecular weight polymer. It increases the viscosity of water, it thickens it, and it causes aggregations in solutions. And these last two points are really important as far as applications of this polymer go. Excuse me. Next, we're going to talk about the synthesis method. It's synthesized by free radical polymerization. First, you've got to have acrylamide, your monomer, which is produced via the hydration of acrylonitrile using a catalyst. When all these monomers are together, and free radicals of the initiators turn the monomers into free radicals and all that, the free radical polymerization occurs when it's dissolved in water. There's ammonium persulfate as one of the initiators, and due to these neurotoxic effects of the monomer that were discovered in 2000s, Polyacrylamide is actually much more desirable of a product, so we're always going to want to make that over the monomer in the end. So everything I just said can be summarized with this nifty chemical equation. So monomer plus initiator equal polymer with n number of repeat units. Okay, so production method. So this free radical polymerization, simple enough to think of it as it dissolves in the solution polymerization, right? But there are actually several different kinds of ways that they can be produced. It can be produced with the solution, inverse emulsion, suspension, and solid state polymerization. And all these depending on the different production method, depends on the different physical state of the product. Like if it's going to be a gel, or if it's going to be like a bead, or like flaky powder, or what have you. And that's what that says. Now we're going to get into the applications. There's so many applications to this, it's unreal. It can be a lubricant, a thickening agent, dispersing agent, a soil conditioner, used in paper baking, contact lenses, preparation for the polyacrylamide gels that everyone has seen. I've been talking a lot about those because those are pretty inventive as far as DNA sequencing and protein analysis go. So that was pretty crucial. And we also have, you know, those little toys that you used to get when you were a kid that you stick them in water and they grow? Well, those are actually polyacrylamide little toys. So we're going to watch a video. This video here of the guy growing. So he is 11 inches at first. 11 inches right here at day 0. And he's going to absorb more water. This cross-linked version is very absorbent. It turns into a gel-like substance. If you could like touch this, it'd feel really slimy and gel-like. So that guy is 26 inches now, more than doubling the size of the original. So that's a fun little application of polyacrylamide. And it is also used in water treatment. So flocculate is one of those new words that I discovered. And it basically means to like remove suspended particles, and it just aggregates them and they fall out of solution eventually. I didn't know what that meant, so I had to look it up, and I think it would be useful to watch a video on how that really works. So we're just going to watch that right quick. It won't take very long at all. Oh. Okay, this guy right here is going to get some polyacrylamide added to it, and he's going to get a nice stir. And this one over here, they're not going to get anything. So what's going to happen is stuff is going to aggregate. That white stuff's going to aggregate and fall out of solution. And look at that, it did. And the other one that wasn't treated did nothing. So and there are many, many, many more applications of this polymer. I just don't have the time, and you probably don't have the time to listen to all those. But that's all I have. Here are my references. I appreciate your time and attention. Hope you learned something.